this is Rob Cutter, also known as Dane, the creator of this YouTube channel, Freedom of the Soul. Since I began posting videos on this channel, especially the 3 playlists that are entitled Shifting the Paradigm of Self-Evolution, Creating a New Heaven and New Earth, and the playlist videos entitled The Angelic Realm and the 72 Oversouls, I've received a lot of questions from people, from viewers. So I'm going to try to answer these questions, put them all together in a short video. This is not going to be a flashy video. This is an informative video for people who want to understand where I got this information and how you can have it confirmed for yourself as well. First of all, I am not a channeler. I understand what channeling is, and I am not a channeler. But I have always been, since I was a small boy, very, I guess they would say, extrasensory perceptive. I, like many people that are out there, understand. When I was a child before the age of 5, I used to see light around people, auras, what they call them. I didn't know they were auras. My parents didn't even talk about auras. They were not New Agers per se. They're very much traditional Christians. And I thought as a child that everybody could see auras. I thought everybody saw the light around others, the different colored lights. And when I was 5 years old, I had discovered, my mother walked into my room and it was dark and I saw her aura around her. It startled me, and she asked me why I got startled, and I told her it was just because I saw her light and it scared me because I didn't know she was there. And that's when she discovered that I could see this, and as soon as I realized that other people didn't see this, within a few months I stopped seeing it myself at about the age of 5 and a half. But I've always had, like, I guess, Magenta Pixie, she talks about indigo children. I think we are all born as indigo children. I've always had these abilities that are beyond the spectrum of just my 5 senses. Moments of premonitions where I've seen things happen a few moments before they've happened, and they happened exactly the way I saw them. And a few moments of, I guess what they call clair audio, where you can actually hear, and that's happened during meditative states where I've actually been told things and heard it in my ear. And I know a lot of people that are out there in the world, they don't buy into this stuff, and I'm not trying to appeal to them. But those of you who do understand about extrasensory perception and the many ways that we can tap into the abilities we have beyond our 5 senses, the abilities of the astral body that we are, that is tied to this physical body that we find ourselves in. Those are our innate abilities, the innate abilities of our souls. And when we're in these denser realms, we often don't remember that because we're so engulfed in our 5 senses. But these abilities are always with us. Basically, what happened about 8 months ago, I had, previous to this, I had used what a lot of New Agers and a lot of people use as pendulums, for example, to practice connecting with what I believed was my higher self. And I used that. I also began using, it started off as a Ouija board. Now I want to tell you, before I mention Ouija board, a lot of people don't like that. But I have discovered that it is basically the same thing as what some people would say as automatic writing. I don't use the Ouija board anymore, but it started off as a tool, as like a something I could build upon. I don't even use it anymore. But I would ask questions, and I tried to connect with a guide. I had read that we have guides, and I had always believed that I have a higher self that is free from this body, that I could communicate with, that had more knowledge beyond my spectrum of senses, and I wanted to tap into this. And so I began calling out to my guide, and I would just use the yes and the no. And what happened was I would just relax, meditate, relax, breathe, let go. And as soon as I would let go, I'd ask a question, and my hands would intuitively move to the left for yes, and to the right for no. And at first, it just felt like, it feels like you just let go, and it's like you tap into these thoughts. And what I've heard from the ones I've communicated with is that each of us hear their thoughts. They are beyond the spectrum of our 5 senses. They are souls just like we are. They communicate with us in the ways that souls communicate, through thoughts, through emotions, and through mental thinking, through thoughts, which are real things. And we hear them, but we oftentimes don't recognize it. We don't recognize it because we're so engulfed in our five senses. But just like someone who does automatic writing, they draw the circles. I don't do automatic writing, but they draw the circles, and then they hear the thoughts that are being sent to them, and suddenly they just automatically start writing them. This has been the same process. I have not practiced automatic writing, but I used the scaffolding of a Ouija board at first, that had evolved off the pendulum, and I developed this ability to just ask the question. I call out to my guide. I had thought it was a guide. And at first he had presented himself as a guide, and he told me he was. He even believed he was. But I'll get into that a little later. But basically, I call out to a guide, and I ask a question, and it's an automatic response. It moves, and it felt like for a while I asked, "Are you moving this?" I would ask them, "Are you moving my hands?" And they said no, that I am moving it. I automatically can hear them. It's just I do not perceive it with my five senses. It's an automatic response. And I know that some of you might not understand that, but if you have ever worked on developing your intuition or ESP or psychic abilities, you understand that we all receive things in different ways. This has developed as an automatic response for me. I can hold a crystal or an object in my hands now and place it on a table, ask a question, and it moves. And my hands will move automatically to the left or to the right for yes or no. And as I began to open this up, especially 8 months ago, I began to ask all the questions I had ever wanted to ask. How is my soul created? How are you created? Where did I come from? I learned that I was created by another soul. And then I asked, well, I want to communicate with them. And they told me he is my higher self, that he created this incarnation. And I will someday merge back with him, and these will be his experiences. And I asked questions like a child would for hours, over a period of 8 months. I asked, well, then how was that soul created? How was the one that began my incarnation? How was he created? And then I learned he was created by another. And how was that one created? I just kept asking questions. Finally, a picture opened up, and I tried to present the picture as the best I could in those playlists. That is a lot of information I've presented there. A lot. And I know that I'm very repetitive in it because a lot of it I understood before as someone who's read books by Michael Newton or Brian Weiss, or I've read the Tao Te Ching, the teachings of Buddha. I've read the Gnostic Gospels of Christianity, the Nag Hammadi scrolls. I've always reached out for more, but I did not have a picture that was very complete until I began asking these questions. And I presented all of that information the best I could on those playlists. And if you view those playlists, even just one of them, I know that they are each about an hour and a half long. It takes several hours to go through them. But you will begin to see a picture that I had not seen before, and also one that I discovered that they had not connected the dots to either. And through this information that has been presented, I was told that those in the higher realms of the earth that work in groups in the astral planes, that are the ones that Michael Newton talks about, that work in groups under the elders that guide the evolutionary reincarnation cycles of humanity. There has been something going on over the past few millions of years that not even the ones working in groups had realized. That every time they create an incarnation, they have been really creating the offspring of another soul. And that is something they did not understand. And that began to open up when I asked where the original ones who began this paradigm of reincarnation came from. I discovered that they are what are termed by many Judeo-Christians to be angels, what in Wicca they call the Watchers, what those beings, those ancient ones that never incarnate. And we are their offspring, and that was something they did not want us to know. And so I've done the best to present that in this channel. If you have more questions, please email me. I would be most interested in answering you privately. Thank you.